Welcome to CXO Unplugged. I'm Phil Dobby, and with me is Richard Allely, who is the CEO of PMP Limited, which I guess is Australia's largest printing company, but it's a bit more to it than that, isn't it?
Yeah, printing's our core business, but the company also have a whole lot of additional media services, including letterbox distribution, and a lot of digital and photographic services that we provide for clients. Mainly retail clients use those services.
Right. Now the company's been going through hard times lately. I mean, there's been an 80% drop in the value of the business. Even before we started getting into the global financial crisis, we started to see that decline. Your job is to turn it around. Big job.
Yeah, so look, it's a big job, but I guess, Phil, I'm not new to PMP. You know, I've been with the company for 7 years. And it's only recently that I've taken the leadership role. And I agree, I've taken that role on in fairly difficult circumstances. But I've moved fairly quickly to surround myself with a very talented, capable, knowledgeable team of executives. In fact, all of my direct reports are new to those roles. Not new to the business, and certainly not new to the industry, but new to those roles. And I have to say, 7 months into the job, I'm absolutely delighted with the team of people that I have actually running the business.
Good. Is it obvious? Was it obvious what was going wrong?
Look, I guess for the people inside the business, it was quite obvious that a lot of complexity and bureaucracy had crept in over probably those halcyon years, you know, when revenue was growing, earnings were growing. So a lot of complexity just creeps in everywhere. And so it became quite obvious that initially the task was to reduce the cost base fairly dramatically. And that largely required us to take a lot of that bureaucracy out.
Right. So simplifying processes, which simplifying processes is actually a complicated thing to do, isn't it?
It can be. And you've got to be careful that you remove those processes that don't add value and don't remove the processes that are absolutely important, to maintain business continuity.
Did the company diversify too much? Should you have stuck to the knitting a bit more?
I think I'd describe it, Phil, more along the lines of the business was generating some reasonably good cash flows, was paying down debt fairly quickly. You know, we came into this global financial crisis in pretty good shape, actually. The balance sheet was strong, debt levels were low, historically the lowest levels they'd been for some time. But I guess there's always an appetite to use those free cash flows to go and do different things. And I guess my predecessor saw an opportunity to invest in some technology. It was quite expensive. It would revolutionise our distribution business. And I think it's fair to say that that investment didn't yield the returns that the company, expected. And so I've largely had to pull back from that.
Right.
And that has been at a significant cost.
So when you're going through restructure like you're going through now, is it all about cutting costs, or do you also need to keep an eye out for innovative new ways of growing the business as well?
Clearly, Phil, it's both. You know, there's no one silver bullet that fixes any business. Certainly you have a responsibility to operate at the lowest possible cost that you can.
Yeah.
But if you do so at the expense of investing in those areas of the business where there are growth options, then you do so at your peril.
Right. I should imagine people management presents particular challenges at times like this. I mean, there's obviously as part of that cost structure, you've had to let a fair few people go. That can always demotivate people in the business. How do you keep people, I guess, on track and feeling as though they're part of the bigger picture?
Phil, people are by far the most important asset that any business has. I've heard a lot of people say that, but in reality, it's a little bit more difficult to communicate that. What I've been doing through this transformation that PMP has been going through is to communicate to everyone in the organisation. I do that face-to-face, I do that through written communication, I do it online. I use effectively every medium that I can to get the message through to every employee. I make myself available 24/7, where there's a need for clarity. So I would say that communicate, and when you think you've communicated enough, communicate some more.
Just keep at it.
Just keep at it.
And I guess the same goes with customers, doesn't it? I mean, you've got one big customer in ACP. You do basically most of the printing for ACP publications. If you were to lose them, which is, there's been some discussion as to whether ACP would develop their own printing plant. What would that do to your business, and how do you stop that happening, I guess?
Look, it would certainly make a hole in one part of our business, which is the printing of magazines. ACP is the largest publisher of magazines in the country, and I think at last count they represent 1 in every 2 magazines sold at the newsstand. So they're a significant player in that space. We, as you mentioned, we print 80–85% of their product, so they're a substantial client. So to lose a client like that will certainly have an impact in your operations. My approach and the approach of our organisation is to ensure that we do everything that we can to retain the client, and that requires us to ensure that we deliver on time, that we're cost effective in the work that we do, that the quality of what we provide is the best that can be provided. But if a client has an aspiration to enter a market for other strategic reasons, there's little that you can do to actually reverse that decision. So your options, of course, are one of 2 options. You can either reduce the capacity that you have in the business, which means further downsizing of your operations, or you seek alternative printing to replace that which you lose. I'm actually pursuing the latter.
Right.
I'm hoping, of course, that ACP stay with PMP. I'm reasonably confident that they will, but I'm also very much aware of their desire and passion to become a printer in their own right.
Now, is the printing sector generally, is it holding steady, or I'd imagine like a lot of industries, it's being hit particularly hard by the internet. So are you a big fish in a pond which is starting to shrink a bit?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. We haven't seen the internet have a significant impact in book printing or in catalogue printing or in magazine printing. The internet, I don't feel, is a good medium, quite frankly, to replace the magazine. I don't think it's a good medium to replace catalogues. To have a catalogue in a letterbox, the correlation between that event and store traffic in a retailer store is about 0.9. So it's a very strong correlation. Retailers understand the power of a catalogue. So I think internet will complement, to some extent, will complement what we do in a printed sense. Will it ever replace it? Certainly not in our lifetime.
One final question. I mean, going through this whole process of restructuring the business, is there anything that you've learnt from it? Is there anything that you've seen as being slightly different to how you intended, that perhaps other businesses should be aware of when they're about to embark on a restructure like this?
I mean, have I learnt anything? Look, I don't think I've ever stopped learning, particularly when there are times of significant change. The one observation that I would make is that, and it's probably obvious, I guess, in some respects, but that is, be very, very clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve as an outcome, and have a deep understanding of what it actually takes to deliver that, and surround yourself with really good people.
Right. Okay. Richard, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Phil.